This is Aaron Rice with the Virtual Reality Collaboration Lab, otherwise known as VR Collab, powered by Virbela. Virbela stands for the Virtual Business Environment for Learning and Assessment. And I am here with my good friend Scott. Say hi, Scott.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me on, Aaron. Excited to be here.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So let folks know kind of who you are, what you do, and how you do it.
Right on. I am Scott Serafin, like Aaron said. I'm the Business Relationship Manager at Live Baltimore. Live Baltimore is a nonprofit here in Baltimore City. We're the city's real estate advertising marketing arm. We advertise Baltimore City as a great place to live as a whole. Me particularly, I work with the real estate community like lenders and agents and home ownership counselors, anybody involved in the real estate in Baltimore City. I want to talk to them. I want to educate them on what's going on around town, what programs are available for buyers, just anybody involved in real estate. I want to talk to them.
And so how long have you been at Live Baltimore?
On staff, coming up on 2 years in this role, but before that, in a former life, I was a mortgage lender for close to 10 years. I was a partner of Live Baltimore, so I've been involved in one way or another with Live Baltimore for close to 6 years now.
Okay, so my claim to fame is I was Live Baltimore's first agent to do desk duty.
Oh, yeah.
Way back when.
Back before the internet?
I don't know about that. Oh, come on now. I don't know about that, but Tracy was the executive director at the time, mm-hmm. and that was back when you could do desk duty all day. So, but it was great. It was great to be a part of the program. It was kind of it was like startup days, but very well put together. I was with Keller Williams at the time in Canton. And had a great time there, and still so I think when am I going on 6 months that I just rejoined, something like that?
Oh, it seems I have no idea about time anymore. But yeah, at least 6 months sounds about right since you've been back on board and really active, which we appreciate. We love working with all the agent partners, and we encourage everybody to be hopefully as involved as you are. So thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So those that don't know, if this is your first time here, again, we are in a 3D game engine. Actually, this is on the Unity game engine. So Scott is now are you a gamer in real life or?
Yeah, actually I do. I play a lot of Call of Duty.
Okay. Okay. So just to orientate, I know you've been in here before, but just for those that are watching for the first time. This is a web board where we have the Live Baltimore website. It's fully, functional, where it's fully engaging. You can click on the links and find more information about upcoming classes. So you might have maybe some workshops coming up, some virtual workshops. Yeah,
a couple different things coming up, specifically on the events tab up there. Yep. One in particular is actually, I am teaching that. It's one of our most popular classes. March 10th is the Introduction to Incentives class, where I talk. Usually it's an hour long, probably more. We get a ton of questions in that class, but it's all about the incentive programs that are offered in Baltimore City, towards down payments and closing costs. We talk about the Maryland Mortgage Program, and then the Baltimore Home Ownership Office has 5 or 6 different programs that I cover at length. So it's a great class. It's really informative, but there's so much that goes into it where it's pretty difficult to cover in just an hour. So that one usually goes on a long time. They're free. We also have one coming up. I'm not sure exactly of the date, but my counterpart, Kim, covers everything you need to know about school options in the city. So I know she has one of those coming up. I think it's next Thursday. Yep,
Schools 101, Conversations with Live Baltimore Schools. It looks like March 18th, Thursday, March 18th from 8 to 9 p.m. I've got it up on my page. You can sign up. It looks like it's free, which is great.
Yeah, everything that we do, any event really, is going to be free now. In the virtual world, it's really easy for us to host these webinars. We see a ton of new people being able to attend, folks that may have been out of state, folks that may have been hesitant to pay a $10 fee or something like that to some of the other events. So we've made everything free now. It's all free information.
Awesome. So what would you say is most inspiring about the Live Baltimore story?
So about the Live Baltimore story, I would have to say that I'm going to start with my story, I think.
Okay.
I came from New Jersey, never lived anywhere else, Went to York College right up 83. I was a little familiar with Baltimore, but it was really not until we moved here in 2013 where I just fell in love with the city right off the bat. The energy was exciting. The people here were all really nice compared to some of the folks in New Jersey. It's a little nicer here, that's for sure.
Yep.
And so it did take a little getting used to, but once I did, I just fell in love with the city in general, and I came across Live Baltimore. The director at the time, his name was Steve Gondel, and our director now, Annie Milley. If you ever heard any of them talk or do an interview or give a speech or do a class, just the passion that they had for bringing people into the city really resonated with me. It also made a lot of sense, our mission, which is to just bring more people into this city and keep them here. It's no surprise that there are some challenges that Baltimore City faces, but we are all of the mindset that by increasing the tax base, we can help solve some of those problems. So it really resonated with me of just trying to retain and recruit new residents, which is really inspiring. And it all started from the bumper sticker.
The I Love Baltimore bumper sticker.
Yeah, most people recognize the logo, the I Heart City Life logo on there, that red and yellow. That's, I think it was a group of neighbors 25 years ago. I'm not exactly sure which neighborhood they were from. Kind of put that together as a marketing campaign, and then Live Baltimore just kind of formed around that many years ago.
So for those that aren't familiar, I mean, this is kind of, if you're looking to relocate to Baltimore City from anywhere around the country, anywhere around the globe, really, this is kind of the number one destination to find out anything and everything Baltimore, whether you're looking to rent, whether you're looking to buy, neighborhoods, schools. It's pretty much that one-stop shop. So tell me, what you said, you came here, you kind of fell in love with one of the neighborhoods. What was the neighborhood that kind of tugged at your heart?
So we stumbled on Locust Point by accident. There was a place for rent right next door to one of my favorite bars, City Limits, shout out. Best sports bar around, and it was really cheap rent, but it was also very difficult to live next door to a bar and work a normal job. So we ended up moving just a couple of blocks away. I saw what was all going on in the future in terms of the Port Covington plans across 95. I just saw a ton of renovation in that neighborhood. Even in the 7 or 8 years that we've been here, there's been so much renovation of properties in that neighborhood, and we decided to buy a place. So we're really happy with it. We're actually in the market for something new. We're going to expand out now that we're both going to be working from home.
Right.
We need a little more space, so I'm looking into some other neighborhoods as well. But I just really resonated with me the demographics of the neighborhood. There's a lot of immigrants. There's a lot of folks that were there, I'll say right off the boat, because there was a very large immigration center there right on the end of Hull Street, the second largest behind Ellis Island. And so a lot of those neighbors there have been there their entire lives. One of my favorite things is hanging out with them, just hearing their stories from the past. My neighbor Pete has lived in his house for 75 years. He was born in the house. He was raised there with 16 other brothers and sisters.
Wow.
And it is no more than 1,000 square feet. I don't know how they do it.
So from what I heard, the immigrants that populated Locust Point were majority Polish, Irish, and German. Does
Absolutely.
that sound about right?
Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
Yep. Cool neighborhood. Cool, very cool neighborhood. One of my favorite restaurants was over there. Unfortunately, they closed. Urban Oyster. Big shout out to Urban Oyster.
Yeah.
Let's. Why don't we take a walk through the campus a little bit so we can show people what we got here. And so this is just our main campus area here. And we're super excited. This campus is probably about 30 days old, so we're planning a lot of interesting events here. Why don't we teleport to the auditorium? So Scott, on your end, you're going to want to hit the go-to upper left-hand corner, and then auditorium number 7.
On the way.
All right, cool. So one of the great things about working with someone like Scott, who's got gamer DNA, is he's navigating really smoothly in this space, which is great, because that's not always the case. It's not always the case. So who is the audience for Live Baltimore? Who would be most interested in your offerings?
So really, it's like you said in the beginning, anybody interested in moving to Baltimore is a great audience for us. But our typical customer is going to be 60% of our customers are single, non-white females. And that's about more like 2/3 actually are single, non-white females. They already live in Baltimore City and are probably renting. And our typical customer is looking for some type of program to help with down payment assistance, and we are there to provide it for them. So 2/3 of our customers, single, non-white females, but we get all sorts of demographics, people that are relocating to any one of the anchor institutions around town, like Hopkins or Under Armour or anybody like that they're bringing in. We work with them to kind of help with relocation packages, not necessarily assistance, but just to make them feel a little bit more comfortable, show them some neighborhoods, talk to them about the programs. But yeah, basic 2/3 of our customers are, like I said, single females.
Right. So I'm sure, I mean, it doesn't sound like you were there since the super beginnings, but I'm sure over the years there's been kind of ups and downs. We've had market crashes and recessions and pandemics. Talk to me a little bit about growth. Are things growing? Kind of slowing down a little bit? What's the temperature of the buying, renting consumer in Baltimore City? You're firsthand.
Yeah, temperature is really hot. We are on fire right now. It is definitely what you would call a seller's market in that there is not a lot of inventory out there. There's very limited properties for sale in specific price ranges. And that's not just Baltimore City necessarily. That's all over the place in Maryland. It's pretty much the same standard. You're going to go compete against 15, 20 different offers on multiple houses. So you really have to have all your ducks in a row there. The market is definitely on fire. One of the biggest points about that is it's not just your Canton, your Federal Hill. It's all over the city. We helped last year. We helped sales in 191 different neighborhoods out of 278. So that's really good. We've seen an increase in volume in some of the lower markets of the city, which is huge. Not just your typical like foreclosure turnovers. It's folks that are using programs like Healthy Neighborhoods to renovate properties in some of the middle neighborhoods that maybe you're not necessarily too familiar with. So we show them information about those neighborhoods on our sites. We help them find places that they can renovate. It's definitely a good way to combat some of the lower inventory that we're seeing right now. But it's really, really hot.
So inventory aside, what would you say is the biggest challenge that either, some of your constituents face or you because you're a nonprofit, right? What are some of the biggest challenges you guys face just, in servicing people over and above like shortage of inventory and over above, let's say the pandemic? Right.
So I'll break it into two parts.
Okay.
From a Live Baltimore perspective, our biggest hurdle, I would have to say, generally is going to be Baltimore's image nationally, and even locally too. That all kind of stems from the big three hurdles that I always mention, and that always come up in real estate are crime, safety, and schools and taxes. So those are the three hurdles that we try and overcome. I teach a class at GBBR, Greater Baltimore Board of Realtors, every other month, where I kind of educate realtors on some of the ways that you can talk intelligently about what's out there when it comes to school options, when it comes to that Baltimore City tax rate, which is a little bit higher than the surrounding areas, but you're also working on a much more affordable home in terms of price points. So there's ways to talk intelligently about how to combat those hurdles, but the biggest challenges are definitely crime, schools, and taxes.
And so you said you're the marketing director?
I am the business relationship manager.
Business relationship manager.
Kind of a made up title, but
I apologize. I don't want to degrade you.
No, that's quite all right. It's partnerships manager. It's a very unique role in that Live Baltimore is a unique organization where we do have sponsorships and partnerships with real estate professionals, and I don't want to be too salesy, but that's really what it is. I'm a salesperson for Live Baltimore.
Are there other organizations that are doing anything similar to what you're doing? I haven't seen any.
Short answer is no. We are very unique. We've actually had several meetings, and not myself personally, but our director Annie has spoken with other cities in the country that have looked to model some of the types of programs that we advertise. And so we're not a city agency, but other cities have contacted us to kind of go over what we do and how they can incorporate down payment incentives. So your original question, the value proposition is, it's really that. It's helping people figure out down payment assistance programs that are available in the city, educating them on that. A big problem that we try and touch on is keeping people here. So I will shout out Kim Wiggins with our Way to Stay program. She always has a quote that I love to use is, it's hard to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. And one of the biggest myths is that once a younger couple decides that maybe they want to come have kids, maybe they're time to move to the suburbs, they might just not know what options they have available for schools within the city and to stay here. So we really try and plug that hole by keeping people here is another big challenge we try and overcome.
Cool. So why don't we teleport to another location? Let's see. Why don't we go to the we'll go to the boardrooms. We'll go to the small boardroom. Cool. All right. So talk to me about resources, not necessarily financial resources, but is there anything that like Live Baltimore, that they want that they don't have? Like what would be the number one resource that you would need right now in order to kind of continue doing what you guys are doing?
That's a bit of a loaded question. No, I like it. So I'll explain just our staff is actually only 8 of us.
Wow.
One of the biggest wow factors is, we pull off some of these events in person, virtually. We saw 1,000 people at our last home buying event, and it's really just a small but mighty team here. It's 8 of us. A lot of people don't understand that. So like me personally, I think it'd be great to be able to hire some extra hands, but we're also a nonprofit. We're not a city agency. We do get some funding from Baltimore City. It makes up a good chunk of our budget. The other parts of our budget are just from donations, fundraising events, and then our strategic partnerships, which I work on with the real estate community. So, short answer is funding. If we had obviously more funding, then there would be more programs, and I think we're really excited to have the new administration coming in town. There's a lot of supporters, not just within Brandon Scott's office, but just in the city government as a whole, that are really starting to see the value that we provide, and so we're really excited to see what comes in the future from that.
Awesome. So my next question is about brand. And I've always been taught that brand is not necessarily the logo, the font, the color scheme. Brand is really, you said you had 1,000 people at your trolley tour. Brand would be what those 1,000 people say about Live Baltimore when nobody from Live Baltimore is around. So my question is, what does the Live Baltimore brand want to deliver to its users?
What does the Live Baltimore brand want to deliver? So let me see. Can I pull this? I can pull this board up probably, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So we have all of this on our website. Let's see here. Scrolling down here to the About section. So really, we want to deliver customer service is priority. And we monitor our customer service scores through something called the Net Promoter Score. All right, so this, I was talking about the Net Promoter Score is something that we send out through all of our surveys. Anytime we do a survey, anytime we do an event, a workshop, anytime I interact with a customer, I'm sending them a survey. And it's not just sending them the information that they need to figure it out on their own. It's more, have we solved their problem? And that's how we look at it. We treat all of our customers like neighbors, which is one of our what do you call them? Just a big
Pillars.
part of our daily life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so the whole point is that our net promoter score is actually above some of the major brands like Amazon, Apple, all these places that are really known for their customer service. We're right on par with those. So that's our biggest key is customer service, and that extends down to our partners in real estate. It extends out to our partners in city government, our neighborhood associations. It's not just for people that are looking to buy a place or rent a place in the city. You may also see on our page we have resident resources here, so we always have information available for folks that are already living here, and not necessarily our target market, but we want to be able to be helpful.
So what's the most popular destination on your website? Where do people kind of spend most of their time?
Sure. The most popular page is your neighborhoods page.
Okay. Well, that falls in line with NAR stats. Most 75% of buyers make their decision based on neighborhoods, so that
Right.
makes sense.
Yes, and so if you click on neighborhoods, it's going to pull up a huge map once the loading screen comes through, and each one of the 278 total neighborhoods in Baltimore City has its own profile page. So if you click on any one of those, I'll just use Able because it's right on the top.
Yep.
If you click on Able, it's going to give you a little breakdown of, a summary of what the neighborhood is like. In the at a glance section, this is all categories that we at Live Baltimore determined are important deciding factors. Whether something's artsy, historic, kid-friendly, whether it's close to the water, walkable, quiet, all different types of categories for neighborhoods. We worked with neighborhood associations. We really spent a lot of time and thought into categorizing these different neighborhoods. We work off of the Department of Planning assessment for neighborhoods. So sometimes we do get a little bit of pushback on like, oh, well, this neighborhood isn't really this, because there are some different data points that show like, Federal Hill is actually only a couple of blocks large when most real estate agents like to put their listings when it's in Riverside as Federal Hill or something like that. So there are some contention points there, but for the purposes of our neighborhood pages, it's all based on the Department of Planning.
I mean, this is awesome information for someone, especially, not familiar with the area. I mean, Baltimore City, in comparison with most other areas in the surrounding DMV, is a high value. The affordability is extreme. And the fact that you're breaking down estimated mortgages, estimated rents, median households, by neighborhood, has to be extremely helpful for prospective buyers who just aren't familiar.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the cool things that we're looking to implement on the page too, which we had on our old website, we used to call them neighborhood know-it-alls, and we got a little bit of feedback from that it was sort of a negative connotation, which is understandable. So now we're working on neighborhood ambassador programs. So if somebody lives in Able or any of these neighborhoods and wants to be a resource for somebody looking into moving there, we're actually going to put your contact information on there. We're going to put a bio up there for you. And just you'll be that point of contact. You'll be that ambassador to tell people word of mouth exactly what it's like to live in that neighborhood, so that you can get a firsthand account of what it's like to be there instead of just reading it on our site.
So I'm sure somebody might be watching this saying, hey, I want to be an ambassador. Like, how do they do it? What's the step? Do they call, email? What do they do? Fill out a form?
Well, right now, nothing.
Okay.
Right now, nothing. But if on the bottom of the page of each neighborhood page, it says, is this page missing some information? And then there's a link to say, help us make it better.
Oh, wow.
You can fill that out. And then once we have like the logistics set up for the ambassador program, there will be a link right there as well to sign up.
Yep, I just pulled up that information page. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of information, a lot of neighborhoods. So we are the experts, but we don't know everything there is to know about each neighborhood. So please, by all means, fill that out if you have any constructive criticism.
Tell me, like, at what specific time did you realize that this was something that was needed both for the city itself and for people that are relocating to the area?
That's a great question, and I have a good answer for that. I remember specifically, I mentioned earlier I was a former mortgage loan officer. I was in mortgages for 10 years, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and I worked for Ryan Homes for a long time. Really, that's when I first noticed that this was a need. There was a community being built by Ryan Homes within Baltimore City. I was the assigned loan officer for that. It was over by Greektown. I won't name the names, but there was a lot of employees of Johns Hopkins looking into the Live Near Your Work program. There were other incentive programs going out at the time, and by the time people got to me as the loan officer, they're already under contract. They may have a closing date. Their house is being built, and it was too late for a lot of those folks to qualify for some of those programs. So I realized that if folks knew about this stuff earlier, then I'd be doing a much better service to those customers instead of telling them that they don't qualify. So that's the beginning of the story. It continues in my time at Bay Capital Mortgage, where I partnered specifically with Live Baltimore and worked with many of their customers from the events. Our typical customer may need a little help with credit. They may need a little help just navigating the whole process from start to finish. They may need help saving for a down payment or figuring out what types of programs they could qualify for. And again, by the time they got to me as a commissioned loan officer, they needed more help. They needed more preparation in advance than I could actually give to them. So by me coming on staff and bringing that unique experience of actually doing loans for a lot of these customers, I've been able to really educate the realtors, the lenders, everybody around town earlier about what's available. And in turn, that helps the entire housing market. To be honest, it slows down any delays. It mitigates any delays in the process. It makes a lot more people aware of what they could qualify for, where they want to live well ahead of time, because they've got enough to worry about during the mortgage process. So it all comes down to just my experience working with the customers on the loan officer side and seeing the need for earlier education and earlier outreach.
I mean, it's a lot to learn because, a lot of times when I'm working with buyers who are looking and debating between, Baltimore City, Baltimore County, or some of the surrounding areas, one thing that I always mention to them is that you're going to get the most amount of incentives, if you qualify here in Baltimore City than you'll get in some of the other areas. And there's a lot to know. And so it sounds like you have really committed yourself to mastery to really, understand all the different incentive programs.
I'm trying. It's certainly a lot.
There is a lot, but at least you know kind of where to find them. You know the leaders within the city to be able to find assistance. These programs kind of phase in, phase out. They get I'm not going to say defunded, but all the funds that expire, they get used up, and then you need to know when they get refunded. Yeah,
budget concerns have been a problem. In the past, like we're definitely advocating for the need for these programs, and the data and our reports that we put out annually support the good work that we're doing with these and why they are necessary. But yeah, like you said, there's information all over the website about these programs, but it's more of that one-on-one approach that sets us apart from everybody else. So like I do send, like if somebody asks, I'll send like, all right, here's the link to the website, do a little research, and then we'll set something up so that at least you have an understanding, and we do like a one-on-one with everybody.
So talk to me a little bit about the Trolley Tour. You had one that just ended a couple of weeks ago, and then you got another one coming up?
That's right. No sleep, no rest. So
did I read that right? It's coming up in May?
May 1st.
Wow. May
1st. We just had a meeting earlier this morning about getting everything ready for that. We just did our lottery for the last Trolley Tour, and now we're already prepping for May 1st event. So basically, the Trolley Tour is a massive home buying event for anybody interested in buying in Baltimore. It's made up of 3 parts. All right, nice. And you got the link up there. Yep. 3 parts. You have workshops going on throughout the day We've actually been able to categorize the workshops into 5 different tracks based on where you are at in your home buying process. So if you're somebody that's just thinking about buying a home, we suggest you check out the first track, which is, how do you prepare your credit? What's, mortgage 101 kind of things, secrets to applying for a mortgage. Or if you've already got a house in mind and you're ready to make a move, you might want to consider some of the home maintenance classes that go on throughout the day. And then we have a roofing class like that. So there's about 25 different workshops that people can watch either the day of, so May 1st, or you can even log in the rest of the week following and watch any of the workshops that you might have missed. Mm-hmm. The second part to the event is a exhibitor fair. Normally these are done in person. The last one we did in person was last May, I think. Yeah, last February, before the pandemic, not last May. We did it at Morgan State. We were in the student union. We had roughly 100 exhibitors, all comprised of real estate agents, homeownership counseling agents, lenders, title companies, neighborhood associations. We have plenty of other nonprofit partners that we invite to come exhibit there, and customers can walk around and talk to all of these different companies. And the idea is that a brand new homeowner will look to meet their realtor, look to meet their lender, and pretty much assemble their whole team that they need to buy a house at these events. And we've been able to do that virtually through the platform that we use for these things. So you can actually click into our partners' booths, you can Zoom with them, so you can do video conferencing while the event is going on, chat with them. They all have all their marketing information just like they would at a in-person event. Mm-hmm. And then lastly is the whole main part of the Trolley Tour is to showcase neighborhoods that may not be familiar to everybody. So if you're not familiar with the area around Morgan State, we were driving people around in buses. We rented out 6 or 8 buses, I think, and we have a whole bus tour around the Northeast going on. It's obviously more difficult to do that in a virtual world, but we have really tremendously put together a lot of video content, video tours. We've worked with a lot of different partners to showcase the entire city. So when we do these events in person, it's usually limited to certain quadrants of the city, just because of logistics and getting the buses together. But these virtual ones, we're showcasing the entire city all day long. And so folks can watch video tours of all different neighborhoods. We've actually put together like a little virtual route that does tour stops and shows you the historical landmarks in that neighborhood or the grocery stores in that neighborhood, just anything you need to know to get to know about each neighborhood. So we've really been able to expand on what we can show in this virtual world.
So you mentioned the lottery earlier. Can you expand on that? Because I think when I was familiar with the tours, basically I think folks had to hop on the trolley tour. They had to visit maybe 3 to 5 houses, get their tickets stamped, and then they would potentially qualify for the incentive that was available at that time. But it sounds like now there's a lottery. How does that work, and when and why did you guys institute that?
Yeah, great point. Didn't even mention we do give away $5,000 towards the down payment of the purchase of a new home to 20 different people that attend this event. So I mentioned earlier I think we had about 12 to 1,300 registrations for the last event. That does not mean that everybody is applying for $5,000. The way that the lottery works is we have the Buying into Baltimore incentive is what it's called. It is a $5,000 forgivable loan. So if you live in the house for 5 years, all is forgiven. You never have to pay anything back. All you have to do is register on Eventbrite for the Trolley Tour, attend the Trolley Tour on the day of the event. You need to watch one workshop. You need to click into one exhibitor booth, and then you need to take a virtual trolley tour and click through that. The platform that we use tracks everybody's motions through the website, so it's really easy to show that you've completed all of those things. Once you have completed your trolley tour and you decide that you want to apply for the incentive, you have 10 business days from the day of the event to secure a contract on a home and submit it to us at Live Baltimore. If you accomplish that and you've done your homeownership counseling ahead of time, you will be entered into our lottery. So on 2 weeks after the event, 10 business days after the event, we pull names. We've been doing it on Facebook Live virtually. We found a program that makes it all random, and we pull the numbers on there. Typically, you're looking at 50-50 odds. We saw 38 or 39 applications, I think, for this last one. And like I said, we give away 20 incentives each time we do it. We do it 3 times a year. We just did the February one, and we gave away $25,000 awards to those folks.
That's
so
amazing.
The key, though, is the timing. If you're trying to buy a house right now, February 23rd, it's too early. You cannot be under contract for a home prior to the lottery, prior to the trolley tour event. So May 1st is your cutoff. If you're looking to buy now, or if you're looking for the summer to try and move, do your counseling ahead of time. Get homeownership counseling, get a lender lined up so that once the trolley tour rolls around, all you have to do is find a house within that 10 business day window and you're good to go.
So, okay, so I'm going to ask the next question I'm not trying to disparage any other practitioners out here, but, on the last tour, maybe I misunderstood, but I was attempting to help find, and some of this might not be, you made the recording, but I was attempting to try to help find listings that had either video or Matterport tours, right?
Correct.
And I just focused on the west side, and it was interesting. It was so interesting just to pull up. I think I pulled up 582 listings, and only 80 had either a video or a Matterport, and I think a smaller percentage had the 3D. And when I say Matterport, for those that don't know, it's the immersive 3D virtual reality tour, which are extremely popular with buyers right now. Because unlike a photograph, unlike a video, they have the agency to be able to go in any direction within the home that they want to go. A lot of them have schematic floor plans, and one of the biggest challenges for buyers is not really knowing, the true size of the home. It's not readily available sometimes. And those Matterport 3D tours create so much data on the property. They're so data rich that's kind of what prospective buyers are looking for to be able to make their decisions on, is my furniture going to fit? Is my living room set or my bedroom set going to fit in this prospective home? And so I was shocked to find that most listings didn't have that. Do you hear from buyers about just how important video content is, how important photos are, how important 3D tours are? Is that, or does that not come up in conversation? It's
a mix. I think it just comes down to personal preference. It's always been, for the last year that we've been focused on virtual showings and 3D tours and all that stuff. It to me personally, I would need to see a house in person. But it's just giving folks another option to be able to, like, if you're out of state and you can't go and see places, like, those 3D tours are great. And we chose that requirement for our trolley tour housing, like our featured homes. We chose that specifically. We wanted the 3D tours just to make it a little more pop for the actual event. So I was personally surprised too that there really weren't all that many options. And then we wanted to make sure that it's livable, move-in ready.
Sure.
You still have to be able to close within 60 days of the event. So there were a few that were like new construction that wouldn't have worked. But yeah, I was surprised at the lack of options. So to me, if I'm a listing agent, and I've never been a real estate agent, but just to me, I would want every tool in my toolkit if I'm trying to sell a house for somebody. You get that 3D listing in there. You never know where somebody's going to be looking at it from. We get people on the trolley tours from all over the country. We get people from outside the United States. And so really that's all they have to go on for a particular house until maybe they're able to come and see it in person. So I think that it's great to have the virtual showings. I think that everybody needs to have more of them. And if I was listing a house, I would certainly want my agent to put that together, a Matterport or some kind of other virtual tour.
So we're finding that actually industry stats say that 53% of buyers would buy a property sight unseen if it had some sort of virtual, tour like that. So the market is wanting. So therein lies the opportunity, right?
Absolutely.
So excited.
And there's ways to not doctor up pictures, but I know the tricks of the photography world on the Zillow listings with just the pictures and how to make something look a lot bigger than it really is, and those kinds of things. But as far as I know, it's a lot tougher to do that with the Matterports and the 3D tours. You get the full picture.
Right. And yeah, the great thing about the 360 tour is there's nothing that can be hidden. So it's a full 360 immersive experience. And then, for those that want to, all those 3D tours are, VR ready, meaning if you have a virtual reality headset, preferably maybe an Oculus virtual reality headset, you can actually put on the headset and actually tour the home from wherever you physically are outside of, the Baltimore area or outside of the home, really.
Right.
So where would you say, and I don't know how much you get into the back end analytics of your site, but which area are most people coming from if they're coming in from Baltimore? I've always heard it's New York. Are you hearing a different area that they're relocating from?
We've seen a lot of folks inquiring from DC.
Okay.
Just over the last 6 months to 10 months, a lot of DC folks either have already, maybe they grew up in Baltimore and transitioned to Washington, D.C., and now are trying to come back. And that's mostly anecdotally, just folks that I've spoken with, folks that our customer service person has talked to. And really it comes down to affordability. So, you can get a $500,000 fixer-upper in D.C., but for that price here, or a fraction of that price, you're move-in ready right in Mount Vernon or something like that for the same exact style house, maybe more space, and still with all the ease of access to DC that you need. And so the work from home world that we're starting to see has really changed people's opinions on where they need to live. We get a lot of people from Philly, New York. Prices there are way still higher than what it is in Baltimore. So we really market the affordability of Baltimore. But to answer your question, it's DC, it is New York too, but it's also folks that are already here in Baltimore.
Well, I mean, yeah, DC, New York, second or third to San Francisco, the most expensive places to live in the United States, right? So Baltimore just being, a 45-minute drive or a 50-minute train ride from Washington D.C. is amazing from a value perspective, so why don't we teleport out of here, and why don't we go to the classroom? I'll meet you in the classroom. So we talked about which state draws the most amount of people to Baltimore from your website. What would you say is the country outside of the United States that gets the most attention on your site?
Oh, boy, that's a good question. There's not many, but the ones that I've seen are actually like South America focused there. We get a lot of folks from that area just inquiring through the website, and a lot of it is Spanish speaking, which we do work with as well. So we have somebody on staff that is fluent and helps out with that. So we're seeing South America, but also Asia as well. A lot of nurses and a lot of the employees coming over to. I was just speaking with somebody at University of Maryland. They were bringing in new recruits from out of town. They had from out of country, really, and they wanted to know what we had available for those folks. So I would say South America, Asia, England is pretty big. I remember working specifically with a couple of folks from Scotland when I was
interesting
doing loans as well. I think they came through Live Baltimore, but it's a mixed bag. It's all over the place.
So we're finding that in Maryland, people from India, China, Nigeria, Ethiopia, El Salvador, we're finding for the state, anyways. Those seem to be where people are relocating from. Lots of schools, lots of higher education institutions. What would you say is from the people that you're talking to? What's the main draw? Is it the proximity to DC? Is it the medical industry, the biotech industry, which is bubbling here? Is it what would you say is from your perspective? What's drawing people to Baltimore City to want to live here?
Honestly, I bring it up again. It's the affordability. Wages have not kept par with price increases in a lot of the places in the country, and that does not hold true here. Baltimore City is still the most affordable housing market in the entire region, and I think people realize that, and people are starting to hear that we'll give you money to purchase a home here, and they are interested in that.
So it's the affordability
affordability
and the incentives on top of the affordability makes it even more affordable.
Yeah, that and the art scene is huge. I get a lot of people asking me about the art scene, the creative scene, and things like that.
And the startup scene is pretty big here too.
Yeah. So Port Covington, I think, has since dropped the
cyber
Town
badge.
USA since then, or something like that. But that doesn't mean that that's not the case still. I know that there's still a ton of tech people and startups, yourself included, that we love to see. So there's definitely opportunity here on the affordability of the home ownership side, but also the commercial space too. Like we're in a really cool space right now that I'm pretty excited to get to see and hang out in. And there's plenty of these types of places around the city popping up.
Absolutely. So, do opportunity zones come up at all? I mean, Baltimore City has more opportunity zones than anywhere else in the state. I guess we've got 42 opportunity zones here, and I think 25% of them are in Baltimore City. Does that come up at all?
It does.
In your world?
For me, though, personally, an opportunity zone is more on the commercial side of things, the business side, whereas we're focused on residential. So I do get a lot of questions of folks looking for information about what it's like to start a business in an opportunity zone. I typically refer them out to Baltimore Development Corporation or
Ben Siegel.
GBC as well, just because I stay on the residential side, but that doesn't mean I don't know a little bit about the opportunity zones. It's just not our bread and butter.
Understood. All right, so why don't we teleport out of here? I just got a few other questions before we wrap up, and I really appreciate your time, man. I know you...
Hey, I do this all day. This is fun. It's, like I said, I'm a gamer. This is like normal stuff.
I know you just came off a tour, and you're ready. Like you take week hiatuses after after the.
I did the one week off after the tour, and I regret it because I'm still catching up from that.
Yep. All right, so why don't we go to conference hall number one? Yep. Okay. Cool. So as you look into the future, what would you say you're most excited about?
Oh, there's a lot. And it's kind of funny. Me coming from the for-profit world of mortgage lending and how competitive that is, and how driven everybody is with that to the almighty dollar, had to kind of scale it back a little bit on the nonprofit side. Things happen a little bit more slowly than I'm used to. So the point is, Annie, our director, is always kind of reeling me back in on a few things that I want to try and do. But for me, I'm really excited to have the support of this new administration. Brandon Scott and his team has made it a part of his transition plan to work with Live Baltimore, to work with the real estate agents around town. And so to answer the question, I think that I am most excited to really build our relationship with the rest of the city government. Now, we've always been great with the Department of Housing. The Home Ownership and Community Development Department has been great partners of ours. But to have that mayor's office now who is really supportive of what we've done in the past and going forward is really going to be exciting. And I can't really share exactly what he's got planned at the moment, but it's going to be cool. It all means good things for Baltimore City and growing Live Baltimore as a whole.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear. So, who would you say is the as we wind down here? Who would you say is the most influential person in your life, and why?
Wow, haven't thought about that in a while. Most influential person. First person that comes to mind right now is my wife.
Yeah, good answer.
Yes, she's always coming to mind. So the pandemic was hard for her. She's in the medical device sales and pharma sales field and was laid off February of 2020. And pandemic hit and was unable to find any work since then. But is starting back up on Thursday, actually, for a new job.
Good.
In the pharma field. So I'm really excited about that. But
good for her.
She's inspiring to me because she never gives up on anything. We could have expanded our geographic locations to find her another job somewhere else, but that never even came across. It was always Baltimore. She was always supportive of me staying here, doing the work that I do, regardless of what she was doing. So yeah, I'm going to go with my wife. There's plenty of others too. Annie Milley, our director, is a champion for city living. She is extremely motivating every time we get on a meeting. She is extremely encouraging, and I could listen to her talk about our work. I could listen to her talk about Baltimore City all the time. It really amps me up every time I hear her do a workshop or speak to a city agency or anything like that. So.
Well, her energy, her passion just definitely shows through. There's no question about that. And you have to be passionate about it. I'm sure there's, bureaucracy that one would have to deal with in any city working with city agencies, but you guys do an awfully great job up there. So how do people get in contact with you, with Live Baltimore? Is it just going to the website? Is it social? What are your channels? What are your numbers? How
Sure.
do they do it?
So to get in contact with me, it's easy just to give my email address, which is invest, INVEST, at livebaltimore.com. That'll come right to me. You can call up the office. The number's down at the bottom of the screen of our website, and then just ask for the only guy that works there. That usually gets a good laugh. But yeah, I am the business relationship manager. You can go to info@livebaltimore.com as well. That will come to me in some fashion. But yeah, email's the best way. And then my cell number is 862-432-5348. Nobody ever picks up my calls because I still have the New Jersey phone number. I've never changed that, and I never will.
There you go. Which exit on the Turnpike are you?
I'm way at the top. I grew up north, so I don't even really have a turnpike exit.
Yeah, so you're past the George Washington Bridge then?
Yeah, closer to Delaware, Water Gap.
Okay. So, if somebody happens to be watching this and they want to become an affiliate of Live Baltimore, what would you say is the number one feature, advantage, and benefit of, at enterprise level, engaging with Live Baltimore?
So from an agent and a lender perspective in that enterprise tier that you're talking about, we provide a number of leads to those folks. So if somebody comes to our website and fills out their profile, which is where we collect our customer data, if they fill out that profile, if they indicate that they want to be contacted by a partner, that is compiled into a list of leads that we send out. To me, when I was receiving that list, that was easily the number one return of my investment into Live Baltimore.
Yep.
In terms of just closing loans and helping people buy houses from that. The next best option for a benefit would be teaching our workshops. We open up. We have a 6:00 session series, so every couple of Wednesdays, maybe every Wednesday now that we're virtual. I don't even know how long we're doing them, or how often we've been doing them, but it seems like every Wednesday at 6:00 we have a new class that we do on a webinar that are all taught by our lending partners and our real estate agents as well. So those have gone from an average attendance of 15 to 20 to 50 to 100, depending on the class, now that we're doing them virtually. So that's one thing that we're going to continue to do in the virtual world, is just keep those going, because it's so much easier for everybody to access. But also, like, when it comes to our partnerships, especially working with me, we have plenty of folks that have been with us for years and years and years, and they look at their sponsorship of Live Baltimore as just supporting their cause. They don't need anything back. They never come to our events. They aren't involved. They're looking at it as a charitable donation, which is perfectly fine. But yeah, for those that do want to be involved and want to help us grow, then I'm all ears. I'm open to all new ideas. I've had people talk to me about trying to do massive concerts in Patterson Park and organize that through the city in partnership with us and things like that. So there's all types of ways to get involved. We certainly accept any donations. There's a link at the bottom of our homepage for sure, but we're flexible is a good way to put it. We focus in Baltimore City as a whole, and I'm open to any ideas that will help grow the city.
Awesome. So last question, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want people to know?
I'm sure there's plenty. Nothing really sticking out in the top of my head, but I just will make it clear that Live Baltimore is not a city agency. We are a nonprofit. We cannot, as hard as we try, we do not have all of the answers to fix a lot of the challenges that Baltimore City comes with. We personally believe that by increasing the tax base, bringing more money into the city coffers is going to help those that are doing the work of community development, that are doing the work of social work and those kinds of things. If they had more money from an increased tax base, schools, that will go a long way. Yeah, the schools for sure.
So I heard you touch on it, and maybe I misunderstood. Live Baltimore, you all work with builders, developers. New construction does qualify for some of the tours, or not so much?
Yeah, definitely. So there's a couple of developers.
Are there price ranges? Like, can you look at a $500,000 house? Is that?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. It's just as neat. Like our typical customer is looking around $220,000, I think, is the average price that our customer sees, right around there, $220,000, $213,000, I think it was. But by all means, if there's new construction, if there's a great renovation at those higher price points, that does not mean that we won't work with those folks, that we won't showcase their properties. The same for any other communities that may be in the more affordable range, the $100,000 price point, those kinds of things. We advertise the city as a whole.
And these numbers that you're saying, 213, 100,000, you can't buy anything in New York for that.
Nope.
Can't buy anything. Well, I'm not positive about Philly, but I think it would be a challenge. Definitely can't buy anything in DC for that. Nor pretty much the surrounding counties. So, definitely I highly recommend checking out livebaltimore.com if you're looking to relocate to the city, and definitely check out Scott as well. Extremely helpful. Everybody there is helpful, and throw a donation their way as well. I think it would help.
Appreciate that.
My pleasure. All right, man. Well, I definitely appreciate your time. I'm going to let you go. This is Aaron Rice. Oh, hey, we got to do something before we leave. Yeah, this is a tradition. So in the upper left-hand corner, you're going to click on your name. We're going to get a little dance move going on the count of three.
No problem.
So on the count of three, you're going to hit your favorite dance. 1, 2, 3. Go for it. All right. Can't leave this session without getting our dance move on in virtual. So Scott, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. It's been fun, man.
Yeah, this is a blast. I really appreciate you having me on and helping spread the word about Live Baltimore, what we are, or what we do, who we are, those kinds of things. Thank you for your support. Glad to have you back as a partner, and thanks for having us on.
Glad to be here. All right. Talk to you later. Peace.
Thanks.